Okay, what's packing, everybody? Episode 27, Tom's Couch Edition, live with the ice cream. But we're not plugging anybody because you know what? You're not paying us.
Nope.
We'll start plugging
Nope.
when you start paying. I am your host, Godchild, the first captain of the ship. My second man, right hand mate, Tommy T. I did want to start out talking about the Matt LaFleur press conference. They wrapped up. What's that stuff called? OTAs, or I guess mini camp, the mandatory mini camp. I don't know how mandatory it is. I didn't know that it wasn't like fully mandatory this part of the week, because that was gonna be one of the things I'm gonna bring up. Like, just why is this all this cavalier attitude with like not being there and not doing, even though it's like just like team building stuff, or it's just kind of walkthroughs, I feel like, or just kind of getting used to the other guys' movements or thought patterns or communication. I feel like all of that stuff is so important, and it's really the first thing I wanted to just touch on and get your opinion on. I don't know if you watched it or not, but still, you can just kind of give your opinion about guys just not being there. And I don't know if I just never noticed it before, or if this has kind of always been going on, but I feel like for Packers, it hasn't really been this way. There were always kind of like, you know, this expectation that, hey, you know, is, even though this is the off season, it's just as important as in season. Like, this is when it starts. This is when you start building that winning culture, those practice habits, that camaraderie. And, you know, the only guy that was really there was Rashawn Gary, man. And And, you know, he even had a press conference that I just loved what he said, everything he said in his press conference. The reporter, what's my man's name? Larry McCarran, he asked him, like, what are your goals for this year? And he was like, I'm not going to talk about my personal goals, but the first thing he said was getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, getting back to the instant championship game, getting over the hump, being, you know, I guess, you know, a playmaker, being a difference maker. And then he said, you know, I'm not going to talk about personal goals, but it's really all about the championship. And I just love that so much, because when another guy, Myers, was asked about his goals, he was like, I want to be set the standard of Corey Linsley. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you think I'm overexcited? Do you feel like I might be let down, or are you kind of as excited as I am about Rashawn Gary? Or just like, what are your thoughts on like where he is, and do you think that he can become like a leader, like the leader on this team this year?
Yeah, big time. I don't think it's bad to have a big expectation of Rashawn Gary. And I am the most excited about him. And I kind of felt that way last year when I saw him in training camp. He was just so physically imposing. And I mean, all those guys are big, but there's something about seeing him out on the field that he just is out there. First of all, he's just like, he's big, he's strong. I mean, he's out there working. It feels like he's out there all the time, every day working out, you know, since the season ended. Yeah. But, you know, the tough thing about him is I think the expectations are so high. Yeah. Right now, I think most Packers fans are looking for him to have this unbelievable year, especially without Zadarius Smith coming back. And I think for him, whether he says it or not, there's so much riding on this season individually for sure.
But I think he knows that, though. I don't think he's a guy that's like shying away from it or trying to like, oh, I'm not thinking about it, or I'm not worried about. Like, I think he's a guy like, yeah, you know, I was taking number one. I was the number one recruit in the country when I came out of high school. Like, at any position, he was the number one recruit in the country. Kind of underwhelming, you know, college career, you know. Then he was taken early, wasn't forced into the spotlight, wasn't pressure to really perform. But now it's like he's taken a little step each year, and I feel like that could be part of the excitement. Why we're kind of like, it's building up. It wasn't just like out of nowhere. It's kind of been this build up since day one.
Well, kind of a guy that was wasn't he drafted a little bit out of position?
Gary,
coming out of college.
Yeah, that was the other thing. And it was like, it was kind of one of those things like, was it he drafted out of position, or was he sort of played out of position at Michigan? Because, you know, like sometimes in college, they don't always take a guy and then play him in his best position. Sometimes they take a guy and they put him in the position that's best for the team. in the scheme. And it's like, and with a guy like him, it's like probably because they weren't as well recruited in another place, like linebacker. Maybe they didn't recruit as well at linebacker, or maybe they recruited so well at linebacker and they didn't recruit as well at D-line. It was like, look, well, we need you at D-line. You know, we couldn't really get this other guy we thought could play here, and we could kind of let you start doing some hybrid stuff. So we're going to just kind of put you at D-line, run stuffer. But that's why he's so good at run defense. And really, like, LaFleur kind of touched on in other parts about just, like, him being there and, you know, guys needing to come back in these next 5 weeks, not taking any steps back. And that kind of just, like, made me, another thing that it made me think about was, like, some of these players, I feel like, you know, the Packers, they have a lot of talent, but maybe one of the reasons why they haven't been able to sort of like, quote unquote, cash in is like maybe some of these guys aren't as locked in as I feel like they need to be. You know, and I wanted to get your thoughts on just like how you feel about like guys who have like extracurricular activities. I get these guys have lives and I understand that, but it's like when you've been so close so many years now in a row, it's like, don't you want to like put a little extra in everywhere you can? Like I just don't feel like they have a champ. I really don't feel like they have a championship mentality on this team. And honestly, I feel like it starts with the quarterback, because no matter what you say, based on his actions and his own statements, I really don't feel like Aaron Rodgers has a championship mentality. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree.
Go ahead.
No, I agree.
Go ahead.
I think, you know, when you watch like Tom Brady over the years and how he prepared, and I hate to make the comparison all the time because I know people hate that, but
it needs to be done.
You know, you always would see him grinding in the off season with these receivers all the time. It was either like at his house or beach somewhere or
at a high school somewhere.
Yeah, he's there.
Something. Even Favre did that kind of stuff.
And I thought at one point, maybe like early on in his career, weren't they going to like Jordy Nelson's ranch or something, like his farm?
Maybe.
And I don't know if they were working out there at some point, but you know,
I think they were doing like farm work and stuff like that, like kind of like a way to stay in shape without like doing the gym, like, you know, kind of sort of.
Yeah, you know, it would make me feel better for sure, and I just don't know. I guess, like, look at the and again, I know the polarizing figure, but Deshaun Watson, I think, flew the offense down to like Hawaii or something to do like 2 or 3 weeks worth of workouts. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that.
I think he flew down the offense or some teammates and paid for their whole trip, and then got like the practice facility for them to go down and work out together.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a vacation slash thing. And yeah, I don't know how common that is. I don't hear about it all the time.
Yeah, you certainly don't hear about it all the time.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that would make me feel better. It would definitely feel like you're maximizing your time.
Every little
prepare. Every little detail. And, you know, I think you're right. I mean, it seems like going back to, you know, the teams of like the 90s, you know, the 80s, like those teams were locked in.
They didn't have extra distractions. Unless you were a guy like Dion, right? Which there's only one of those, or Bo Jackson. You know, playing two sports. there aren't a whole bunch of other distractions. You know what I'm saying? Sure, you have your typical party life and things of that nature. But, you know, it wasn't guys on Instagram being social media influencers, streaming, trying to get a clothing brand off the ground. And maybe we did have those things. Maybe we did. I mean, Deion Sanders made a rap song, okay? But, again, it's Deion Sanders. Like, he's a lifetime kind of a talent. I'm sorry, Alan Lazard and MVS, you're not that talented to be, like, Deion can do that. You guys shouldn't be doing that to me. Like, you guys need to be locked in. And I've just noticed, like, Allen wasn't here. He didn't show up none of the days unless it was to sign his contract. Hey, more power to you, man. You finally signed your tender. I don't know what you were waiting on. You know, you're only going to lose money by not signing it. And like I said, I was disappointed that he didn't take this opportunity. Like, you know what? I need to show up from day one, establish myself as the guy in this locker room. I mean, Randall Cobb, you're the veteran, but we all know Randall Cobb's not about to like turn back the clock. Even though we had this discussion, the multiverse, right? I don't think Randall Cobb is about to turn back the clock and really be 2016 Randall Cobb and be a all-pro, catch 80 balls, 1,000 yards. No, I don't think that's happening. I really don't. Like, this is really Lazard's opportunity. It was his opportunity to seize the locker room, and I feel like he dropped the ball on it, and I'm a little disappointed on that. I mean, it sounded like Jordan Love was progressing out there. Sounds like Jordan Love was made some progress, a lot of progress.
Did it?
I heard
Okay.
Dobbs was catching touchdown passes. Didn't hear much about Watson, but I heard a lot about Dobbs. I heard a lot about
Did hear about him too. Yep. I heard a little bit about our boy Amari.
Amari. Yes, Dobbs and Amari. Dobbs and Amari have kind of been the darlings of training camp. So we'll see if that continues when Rodgers comes back. But I guess, I just feel like these are the sorts of things. To me, if Rodgers is there and he puts the mandate out there, basically, like, for lack of a better term, to everybody, look, we've gotten too close to fucking waste any time. Everyone needs to be locked in.
Yep.
Everyone needs to be locked in from day one. And I was like, I don't know if that's is that unreasonable to want Rodgers in his last 2 years here to fucking say fuck everything else, bro. You can hold off on dating supermodels and fucking movie stars for 2 more years, bro. Like, you're still a young man.
Speaking of Rodgers, were you surprised at all that he so emphatically confirmed he'd be retiring in Green Bay?
Yeah, but I still don't put a whole bunch of stock into it. I heard that he was emphatic about it. Yes. He said, do you think you'll be, they said, do you think, to be honest, he said, do you think you'll be retiring here? He said, yes, definitely. Which, he's played so many word games and semantics before. It could just be like, yes, I think so, definitely. But something else could happen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know with Aaron at this point, like, because he's kind of done it enough times for me to just be like, I kind of believe you, but in the back of my mind, I'm still going to be like, anything can happen with him at this point. But if I had to bet, I would say I'm pretty like 90% sure that's the plan, which would still leave Jordan Love with 1 more year. They have to pick up his 5th-year option to just come in and prove himself and really not skip a beat. And I think that's going to be the difference.
I agree.
If they play this all the way out and Rodgers is here for 2 more years and Jordan Love is here his last year on his 5th-year option, the difference between him starting anywhere in these last 4 years to just starting in his 5th year is that there cannot be any drop-off. I mean, he don't have to be an MVP, but we got to make the playoffs and we got to win the division, and that's gonna put a ton of pressure on him. But it's like, I think so far, I think he's handled it well.
When I look at Rodgers, I don't see a guy who's like motivated to win a Super Bowl this year. Do you?
No, I don't. I really see a guy who's mostly motivated by, like, proving that he is able to be the best. Like, you got to be locked in right now. Maybe I don't know what other teams are doing. I don't really care what other teams are doing, because it's like, I feel like you guys need to be doing a little bit more. And maybe that's unreasonable. Some people say, oh, these guys have to have a life and yada yada yada. But it's like, man, you're so close. It's like, I just want you to really put more effort into it. A couple guys that I think are putting a lot of effort into it, but it's still, we have to wait and find out, is these injury reserve guys. Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Tanyan, and Colin Hill. I forgot about Colin Hill. LaFleur was asked about them, and of course, specifically Bakhtiari. And honestly, at this point, I am just sort of resigning to the fact that he might be done.
Yeah, that was a scary response by LaFleur.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, honestly, especially when he said, like, we thought so last year too.
I know.
Like,
you're right. He might never play again.
I mean, and it's not. And honestly, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go far like he will never play again. But I feel like, as far as like being a Packer, he's done, because the Packers have drafted really well at offensive line over the past 3 years. And honestly, I'm not going to say they're going to be able to just find another all-pro, just, land on the reserves pile and plug in. But I think just from the coaching aspect, how they're coached, the scheme, and just the collection of the talent, the floor on that is pretty high. So, it is what it is.
I can't believe they brought him back under that sequence of events last year.
Yeah.
For him then just to have that kind of setback after playing 1/2 in Detroit.
Yeah, I think it proves that was a mistake.
Something doesn't seem right.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Excuse me.
I mean, how are you not 100% sure the guy was practicing for weeks, and then to have that big a setback that you can't play?
Is it possible
in an NFC divisional game? I think he retweaked it because I think he had to go back and have surgery.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you think he kind of okay? Well, let me not be cynical. It's completely cynical. Let me not be completely cynical. I guess there are three possibilities. The third is one is it was just really a freak accident. Like everything looked good. He really felt good. They thought it should be good, and tested well. But for some reason, he just tweaked it, like you said. Maybe it was some contact or whatever. It was kind of a freak thing. The second thing could be, quite honestly, he maybe was misleading on how healthy he was. It's like because something can kind of test good or good enough, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you in your mind and you knowing how your body is from being at the peak of your physical prowess to rehabbing, if you're really good enough or not, or confident enough. Maybe even might be even a better word. So and maybe he wasn't, but he wanted to be out there because it's like I need to be out there, or maybe they made it. Maybe they fucked up. Maybe they fucked up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of impossible to know, but I think you're right, man. Like in hindsight, it really does seem like a bad idea to even like suggested it. Like he should have just really been in bubble wrap.
I mean, time will tell. It's such a wild thing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, the season starts in like 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not a couple of months, but still.
But still, no. The everything. No. The engines get started up, bro. The engines are starting in. He said July 27th is the first day of practice. So engines revved up July 27th. What was it? The checker flag, whatever. I don't know. But they drop so everybody can start running. Or the green light is the first game of the season. And even the way when he was like, yeah, we feel good about it, or think or something. The way he says, like, it just sounds like he's trying to convince himself.
Yeah.
Like he don't believe it, but he's gonna say it anyways because it's like it's better than saying it's not gonna happen. Even if I know it's not, I'll just say that it will. I think he's trying to convince himself, but he already knows that that's not gonna happen.
I don't think he's gonna play week 1.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, man. Honestly, yeah. I really don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Here's the other thing is really my question. How much different is the practice repetitions that you didn't have a feel for it for weeks leading up to that Detroit game, and then he plays 27 snaps in that game and has this type of setback to the point where you don't even know if he's going to start the following season?
Well,
it's just like I don't understand. Unless it's just one of those things where I don't know. I mean, maybe maybe it's just ACLs are tough, and
I mean,
you never
ACLs
really
are
know.
tough.
Maybe he felt great. And it's just like, it could have happened in practice, just like it did the first time, just as easily as it did in the game. I mean,
he's a heavy dude too, so I mean, I think the weight has a lot to do with it. I mean, you can't think
of the violent. Torque on the legs and the knees when you're playing that position.
Just the pressure that it puts.
Yeah, you weigh like 3 bills on top of it. You're trying to move around. What's the physical or what's the emotional drain of this now? The mental aspect of it.
It's got to be tough on him. It's got to be tough on him.
Got to be tough.
He's got to be, yeah, and that's the humanity part of it. Is like, yeah, we're just like, oh fuck our football team, but there is a guy, who's like. I mean, he's got money. Okay, this is not like it's his rookie year on his rookie deal. He made $3 million back in the freaking '90s or something, or whatever. Like he's got paid. He already got one big contract. But it is still like and if he was just going to be a normal guy, like just taking his kids to school and working at the bank, I'm sure he'd be fine. But it's like he'd be fully recovered. If he's just going to play some pickup games at the Y every now and then. But to be a prime athlete in the NFL and going up against other apex athletes and having to run and jump and pull and all this other crazy shit, like yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough, man. There's got to be a lot of strain on the body, and yeah, it sucks that I would imagine he's probably like, I don't know, man, but I would imagine it'd be hard to. He might be even depressed. He might be depressed or something.
He could be. I feel bad for him. He's 30.
Yeah.
He's 30. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. You hope he can get back out there, not just for our sake. I mean,
Just for his own sake,
we played without. Yeah, for his own sake, it'd be a shame. I mean, especially the Packers invested a lot in the guy. He was going to be here for another 3-4 years or something, and they just restructure his deal too. So we got more money into him now because I think we added a bunch of void years on that contract.
Yeah. I don't know, but it may not be guaranteed for injury, which is a whole different beast.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe not.
But I mean, I was kind of at the beginning. I really had high hopes for Lazard, to take that step in more ways than one. But now, honestly, I'm just, I'm lowering my expectations. But maybe he's going to.
I guess was Lazard.
Maybe he's going to surprise us all.
Was Lazard hoping for a extension?
I think so.
Is that what he was attempting to negotiate?
I think he was definitely holding out for, and I wish somebody would have fucking asked him that. I don't know if anyone did. I feel like I watched all the LaFleur press conferences since this kind of has been going on. I don't really recall anyone asking why he was missing, what that was about, if you knew or heard anything from his agent. Like you said, why are these guys getting access? They're not even really asking the best questions.
So I guess the scoop is he could not negotiate with another team unless granted permission by the Packers.
Right.
Which clearly they were not going to do.
Right.
So he had really no leverage except to just sit out and start getting fined for missing training camps and everything else. So he basically just said, hey.
But did he get fined for all that stuff? I don't think he got fined for any of the stuff he missed, though.
You think Lazard deserves a long-term extension right now?
I mean, I don't think he deserves anything like what guys were getting on the market. But I think because all those guys that were getting deals this year were kind of number ones, with the exception of that one dude, Christian Kirk. I don't think he's like a number one. Clearly, honestly, not with Hopkins there. But he is kind of like a 1B or like a solid 2. He's like a solid 2, I think. But I don't know, man.
I mean, I can't see Lazard getting more than a 3-year, $12 million deal anyway.
$12 million a year?
No. Total. You think someone's going to pay him $8, $9, $10 million a year?
Well, that's what I think. I think and if you look at Lazard's numbers, in the system that he's in with 70% of the plays being designed for Devontae Adams. And then you have a guy like Aaron Jones. Okay, and then he did have some years where he had some injuries. Okay, and then you have, Aaron Rodgers. Not only are the plays designed for, Adams, he's really going to Adams most of the time. So it's like, I think MVS in Kansas City is gonna be interesting to see him, see how what he can do this year. I'll be watching him closely. I might even pick him up in fantasy football, honestly, like a sleeper. And Lazard this year, I mean, with all the targets that are available, I think he's feeling like, you know what, I showed that I am maybe the best blocking receiver in football. Okay, I have the size, I have everything you guys like. I don't get in trouble. I've been here, consistently. I've had growth over the years, but it's not like I really had an opportunity to flourish. Y'all weren't. You really think I was going to take opportunities away from Adams? But he had 8 touchdowns. To me, that's a lot. That's a lot. 8 touchdowns, a lot for a guy of his position.
For sure, but I think it almost says to me, this guy maybe doesn't have the confidence that he's going to be able to do it when it really matters the most in this year. And just hear me out on this. One, if he going into this year, if he kills it, let's just say he has like 80, 90 catches, 1,200 yards, 12 TDs, 13 TDs, he will get big time money for sure. 14, 15 million a year, maybe even more the way money was. And he has every opportunity. There's nothing holding him back. He can walk in, and if he wants to be the number one guy and cement himself in that position, that's right there for his taking to be that guy. Nothing stands in his way. Versus what you hold out to make, 6, 7 a year, a 3-year, $21 million deal. That just doesn't, and then be a number 2, 3 guy behind.
And then because then what? Like you ball out, and then you would just come back next year and ask for more money. You know, right? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. You're absolutely right. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah, because you definitely would want more money. You would definitely, if you bought out this year, you would definitely like, you know, 9.5 million. No, that's a steal. I need an 18 now. You know what I mean? He would definitely want money. So I feel you, man. And honestly, it probably is going to be even for a guy like him at the very least. You know, I don't know, man. Like all those guys signed so many deals this year, and the upper echelon guys signing for 26 and 28 and 29 million is like, I mean, sheesh. It could have been 20 mil bare minimum for him. A 3-year, 20 mil year deal with like.
He could probably get that. You know, he could probably get 3-year 20
with 30 of it guaranteed. With 30 of it guaranteed up front. Bam.
And it looks like an animal this year. He's got literally just nothing holding him back. So I don't really. The more I think about it, it's just like
the more it's disappointing it is, right? It's disappointing. It's concerning and disappointing. At first, I was just disappointed.
I don't know.
Then I became concerned.
I don't know who gave him that advice, but it was terrible advice. They should have said from the get-go, get to every OTA, get to work with Jordan Love, get to every mini camp, get to the mandatory, walk in the room and let those guys know that you're
there
the man.
First.
From day one.
Be there 5 in the morning. Breaking down
instead
film.
You have this little like, you know, kind of like weak, half-assed holdout, and then miss the only mandatory training camp of the summer. It's just, you know, I really hadn't thought about this until we just started talking about it. No,
man, I started thinking about this when he didn't sign, because like you said, it's like, why the fuck would you not sign? You can't go anywhere else. You can't do anything else. By not signing, it's not like you can make more money or get out of it. It's like you're only really just delaying the inevitable and, like you said, wasting valuable time. And then he signs, doesn't show up, and then it's just like, and then when I'm kind of looking at, then I hear no one, like a lot of people aren't there today, and then, you know, the only person who's there is really Gary, and I listened to his interview, and I listened to Myers' interview. It just seems like, I'm like, yeah, we got all the effing talent, but is the dedication and the focus there? Right now, maybe it's unfair to say before the actual training camp starts, but I'm not seeing it, because I feel like if they were that focused and dedicated, I would be seeing it right now. When it's just when it's okay to be slacking off, but you wouldn't be.
Yep, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean,
we'll see.
We will see. They can turn it on, man.
Time will tell.
They can turn it on.
Time will tell.
But you know, since we kind of talk about receivers, man, you know, this is a topic I kind of slid in there last second, but I wanted to kind of bring it up because I don't know if you heard. Did you hear this week about Devontae? I guess he was asked by reporters to kind of like compare Aaron and Carr or something. And, you know, he basically gave his props to Aaron and said, you know, he's a Hall of Famer and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he said, if we're just talking about talent-wise, you know, it's kind of similar. Are you still a fan of Devontae Adams? Do you think, like, is anything wrong with that? Do you think he was just saying that, or do you feel like there was any truth to that?
Okay, I just don't see it from Derek Carr.
Okay.
I really don't.
You don't see it.
I really don't. And I think what it comes down to for me is, if I'm going to look at talent wise and athleticism, arm strength, accuracy, everything, I would take Aaron Rodgers first, and then I would probably pick 10 to 12 quarterbacks behind him before I even would think about Derek Carr. I mean, that's just the truth. That's just the truth for me. I mean, and maybe Devontae sees something different. It is a little annoying, you know, their whole bromance that they have going on down there, which, you know, we probably just feel a little bit salt in the wound as Packers fans. You know, I hate to see it, but, you know, I don't have anything against Devontae. I don't think it's like as egregious as Greg Jennings when he left, clearly on bad terms.
Right,
but,
yeah.
You know, that just seemed like a pretty wild thing for him to say.
But that's what I'm saying. Like do you think he really believes it, or you think he's just? I'm sorry. What you say?
I think he's trying to pump his guy up.
But why? But why would he do that though? I don't think he needs to do it, because it's like, first of all, he's played with Derek Carr before. Second of all, it's like he chose to go here. I feel like Adams too over the years is like, I don't think he just says stuff just to say stuff. I don't think he's as bad as people want to kind of like say he is, but I do think he hasn't lived up to his talent either. But I feel like he's a guy where this is his opportunity. This is going to be his opportunity to show people, maybe a little bit like Stafford. I mean, we didn't even think, if it wasn't for the trade, if Stafford just stayed a Detroit Lion his entire career, I feel like it would have always been that what if, because I don't think Detroit is going to no Super Bowl no time soon. But now Stafford goes to LA, a good team, a good franchise, a not so toxic environment, a great GM. They know how to fucking draft and develop and trade and do the free agency. You got a great coach, good players. He wins a freaking Super Bowl, and now people can look at Stafford like, okay, he can do it.
Yeah.
It's like, and maybe I don't think Carr's going to take him to a Super Bowl. But
nobody ever questioned Matt Stafford when he was at the Lions.
People didn't question his talent, but they definitely questioned his ability to win. Can he lead you to a Super Bowl, or will he be like a Charles Barkley of the NFL, if you will? And I wouldn't even say Marino, because Marino's like, you know. But honestly though, no bullshit. Honestly though, Matt Stafford is ahead of Marino. He's ahead of Marino. His pace right now is ahead of Marino. He's the fastest to every marker to this point. Fastest to 20,000, fastest to 30,000, fastest to 40,000. He'll be the fastest to 50. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Maybe like it's gonna be hard to reverse those 10 years of suck and being the first franchise to ever go 0-16, being the quarterback for that team. But if he wins another Super Bowl and maybe an MVP, he's going to be the poster child for look what, like, it really matters where you go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It really matters where you go in the situation you're in, because here you can have a guy who has now in the last, 6 or 7 years, won on the MVP and 2 Super Bowls, where his first 10 years he looked like, yeah, great talent, but everyone questioned his ability to win, to be a winner, to be able to lead your team. And, you know, I think to me, those are always the most important factors for a quarterback. Sure. But, you know, as we said, I think Rodgers somehow, for some reason, he just got distracted by all this other stuff, being a brand and all these other things he's trying to do. He's got businesses and he's golfing and shit. Like, come on, man. What the hell? What the hell? He's doing ayahuasca and shitting out his ass. Like, what was that thing he was doing? The cleanse he did?
Concha.
I almost completely forgot about that, but that was story.
Karma.
Yeah, some kind of matcha, some kind of cleanse. He's pooping out his butt for 48 hours or some craziness. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Devontae's comments were wild, and then Tyreek Hill came out and said some crazier shit today.
But that's a little more far fetched. It's like, come on, you're gonna compare Tua to Mahomes. So that to me sounds like a guy who was just saying some shit to try to bring some confidence to his young quarterback, and who's kind of trying to, just like LaFleur is saying, yeah, we hope, and we're expecting him to be there, knowing damn well he's not going to be there. You're still going to say it because it feels good to say it.
You don't think when Rodgers went down to Las Vegas to golf with Devontae or whatever they were doing last week, you don't think the first thing Rodgers said was like, hey, dude, what was up with that? And they were laughing about it. I wouldn't put it past Aaron Rodgers to be that fucking petty and insecure.
Honestly, I wouldn't be that.
I would bet my life that it came up.
Honestly, that's what I'm saying. I think Devontae believes that. I don't think he wouldn't have said it if he didn't believe it. And he would probably just say, I'm telling you, 12. I'm telling you. We gonna surprise y'all this year. I think that's would have been his response. If Rodgers brought it up, I feel like that would have been his response. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but I'm telling you, we're gonna be surprised. It's a lot different when you because I feel like how many people, all these people are bashing Derek Carr. How much of Derek Carr have you actually watched to be bashing him? Or to, what I'm saying? Like, people just kind of bashing because it's Derek Carr. He hasn't been in MVP race, but it's like, yeah, no one is except for Brady and Rodgers and Mahomes and one other guy every year. It's like, because the media kind of chooses who they want to be in the MVP race. It's like, I think honestly Stafford and Brady got robbed last year. I think honestly last year Stafford and Brady should have been MVPs over Aaron Rodgers. Year before that, Aaron Rodgers 50 touchdowns, whatever it was. I mean, yeah, he was great. I think he definitely deserved his third one. There was another year, I think his second one. His second and his fourth to me were questionable. I think his first one, obviously, 2011, even though some people even thought that year that Drew Brees should have won it that year. Drew Brees had more yards, I think, and touchdowns that year than Aaron Rodgers did. But it was the fact that he had that 122 passer rating, which might honestly go down. I think there's a chance that Rodgers will have the 122.6 or whatever was that passer rating. I don't think anyone will touch that one. It's hard. That's going to be tough. And then because the only reason why it got so high is because he doesn't throw the interceptions. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to replicate that. And honestly, I don't think guys want to. And that's the difference. I think there are guys like, okay, of course I don't want to throw a bunch of interceptions. But I do think there's some guys, it's like, it's not the end of the world for me. You know, it's like, okay, I threw fucking 3 picks. But guess what? You know, we still win a game. I'll get chewed out in practice. And I'll fucking, you know, in film study. And I'll try to cut it down. But I'm gonna throw that ball. I'll throw that 50-50 ball every time. And I prefer a guy like that that's willing to take the risk, that doesn't care if they throw 12 interceptions a year or whatever. It's like if you're winning, making plays, getting touchdowns, it all kind of balances itself out in the end.
Yep, you're right.
And you know, so, but I think that's possible that he will go down as the highest passer rating ever in history and the lowest interceptions. Like, he might not even throw 100 before he retires, which is
crazy. As
much as I hate like how much people blow that out of proportion, because I just gave my reasons why. I do, like, I'm not a hater because I can admit that is it's unhuman. You know, it's in, you know what I'm saying? It's something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, to even, he's as dedicated to not throwing interceptions as Tom Brady is to winning championships.
No, you're right, and the question is always going to be like, well, you know, but here's the thing: you look at a guy like Favre, reckless at times, definitely overly aggressive, and then Rodgers, who on the other end, maybe not aggressive enough. And at the end of the day, they're probably both going to come out of their careers with one Super Bowl.
And it's like, that's what we need, Jordan Love. Maybe Jordan Love, he is the key. Maybe he'll be the key. Just enough aggression and bravado, and he's got the talent with the arm strength to be the risk it guy, big risk, big reward. And I feel like LaFleur said that one time when they watched his film. That's one thing they liked about him. You know, it's like, he is not afraid to zip it. And yeah, he had 18 interceptions or whatever it was his last year, but he's also just trying to make plays. And he knew it's like, and when you're a guy like him, he probably kind of knew, like, either way, like, I'm getting drafted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting drafted. Let me just fuck it. You know, let me just try to go out here. At the very least, I have the year ahead, and I still got drafted number 1 in the first round to the Packers. At the best case scenario, I fucking kill it again, and I go number 1 overall. So it was like,
I know,
very high. It was very little risk, really. It was very, I guess you could say, high risk. Well, I don't know how you want to say it. Like, it was very minimal risk for him. You know what I'm saying? And the reward possibility was very high, because like, you could go first overall, or you could still be a late first round pick, which is usually better, especially at quarterback. We kind of just got dragged into a Rodgers conversation, but that's to be expected. I mean, this is what's packing Packers. I mean, there's always some Rodgers news to talk about, but let's turn the page to you want to talk about this live tour thing, this live golf thing, and we could do that. We could take a trip outside of NFL for a little bit, and then kind of wrap up with the division talk. But yeah, man, like, I kind of heard about it, and the sports show that I listened to in the morning, they were kind of talking about it today.
Okay.
I did hear about the players. There's like 20 something players that are currently now, like, basically banned from the PGA, kind of like suspended indefinitely.
Pretty much.
They're not gonna. Well, I think they can play in this week's thing, and then like the next Open or whatever, the next major that there is or something coming up in July, but then that's it. because that was like kind of already, I guess, in place. They already qualified for those before they made this ban or whatever it is. What I don't understand is like where did this come from? Kind of like why? Like, are they making more money? Like, do you know how much do you know about it? I know we wanted to talk about it. I should have looked into it, but I just had a long day at work.
So yeah, it's like insane money that these guys are getting paid.
And so that's why.
And basically, this is basically financed by the wealthiest, this wealth fund of Saudi Arabia. Let's see. I think Dustin Johnson, if I'm reading this correctly, got paid like $150 million reportedly, which is crazy.
Hell no.
They're saying like
hell no.
Ian Poulter like $22 million.
What? No, so, I feel like they don't ever even. I feel like the most they make on any tournament is probably like $20 million.
I don't even think it's that high.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I would guess that would be the highest. Would be like the Masters, because that's the granddaddy of them all. And I would imagine like maybe that can get up to like 18, 19 million or something. But
okay, so
wow, 150 million on one tournament. Did he win it?
So
I'm assuming he won.
The
right?
PGA Championship is the largest purse in tournament history.
Okay.
Is 15 million divided up amongst the whole field.
50 million divided up. Okay, so
no, 15.
15.
This,
wow,
this
is insane.
150. Yeah,
yeah,
so
they're fucking up the game
money.
With this. They're fucking.
It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, they just introduced blue magic into the fucking streets.
Big time.
Yeah, wow.
And everybody's saying like, oh, they're killers, they're rapists, they murder journalists. That's why Phil Mickelson got in trouble, was because that's why he got in trouble initially. But I don't think it really matters. To be honest, I think regardless of who is funding this league, I think that the PGA, and this is the question I wanted to ask you, would have lashed out in this manner because they're being challenged, and I think they would have reacted the same way had it been Saudi Arabia or anybody,
Canada,
anybody for that matter.
Chinese,
China, Canada, whatever, Mexico. I started to think about like, could this happen? I started to think through, have we ever seen an instance? I guess the closest thing maybe would be like, I know the USFL in like the 70s or 80s was like paying players money.
And before the merger. I don't want to say before the merger. Well, before the merger, the AFL and the NFL. AFL was competitive. They had a lot of guys. Guys were getting drafted in both leagues and like deciding who they were going to go to, who would pay them more. And then USFL was paying people. But nowadays, no one can compare. No one can pay in America. What the NFL is paying. I don't know why somebody like a Bezos or Elon Musk doesn't just be like, you know what, I'm about to finance my own team, my own league. Like, those guys are so rich, they could literally just be... Huh?
Yeah, could you though?
Dude,
you're talking like...
Bezos definitely could. He owns Amazon, okay? And he could literally finance all the stadiums. He could finance all the teams and still have money left over. And still probably be in the top 20 of richest people in the world.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's enough money to really, really field a competitive roster of teams. And you have, where are they going to play? The operations.
Well, we're not. We're not.
Golf is so easy, right?
Yeah, the golf in this case is so easy because it's just individual players. You don't have to do a whole team. Yada yada. But I really do think. I think it's possible, whether it's something like this, like some Saudi Arabian princes coming out of nowhere, or like you said, maybe some freaking tech person from Mexico. I don't know, whatever. Somebody somewhere could do this. I think it's very possible. I even said, honestly, I felt like the highest paid like athletes in all the major sports, like, I don't know why they wouldn't just get together and start their own thing. Like, some of these guys are making so much money, they could get together and start their own thing. But like, we're gonna, start our own league. Like, we're the best of the best anyways. If we just like we're not leaving unless you give us 51% or 60%. Like honestly, the players really should be getting like 80% of the revenue. Like what are the teams really doing? You know what I'm saying? Like why is it
I don't know.
50-50? You're not doing shit. You're signing checks. Like I'm
Yep.
going out here risking my body, risking my life, risking my not seeing my kids and my wife, all that stuff. I think players should be getting 70% of the revenue. Owners
Yeah,
should break up
for
30.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so if somebody came out of nowhere, I think it's possible, and they would just leave. They would just leave the NFL.
It's interesting to just see, this whole thing transpire. We'll see what happens if this thing hangs around, but these guys are really, I think
Yeah, they.
it's tough to say. I mean, if this was, it's just such a unique situation in golf, and they talk about like a guy like Phil Mickelson who has exemptions supposedly for
Yeah,
winning these tournaments, and now they're saying, he's saying, hey, I earned those. I won these majors, and now I can't even come back and play because I'm choosing to play in this other league. Part of me feels like if you're the PGA, like then figure out a way to be competitive.
yes,
Like
and
if
that's how I
you're the
feel too.
number
Like,
one league, figure out a way to pay these guys. Then don't just sit here and say like they're dishonoring the legacy of the PGA Tour. Like
well, the
that's
problem is they
crazy
can't.
shit to me.
But like you said, this is kind of out of their league. This is out of their league. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is
these
out of their
Saudi
league.
princes. Come on,
Sure.
man. Like, no one's got money like them, man. Unless you're the freaking Rockefellers. You know what I'm saying? Or the was not even the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. Unless you're the people that own the banks. Like, ain't nobody got more money than these people, man. These Saudi princes and stuff. These, come on, man. These oil.
And it's like for these Saudis, like they're going to want to see a return on this at some point, right? Like, are they in so deep that I don't know how you can't afford? Is it really scalable to keep paying these guys that much money?
Well,
And then who's going to watch your shit? Is it going to be on a network, or do you have TV rights?
I think it's gonna
Who's going to
come with time.
negotiate?
You know, like I think
I
that'll
mean,
come with
who's
time.
negotiating Saudi Arabian TV rights in the U.S.? That's a
A
crazy
streaming
thought,
service,
right?
a streaming service.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
with a
Probably.
streaming service is not gonna. I mean, and honestly, it's like you could look at it two ways. Like, this is iffy, or you could look at it like, well, we need to be ahead of it. We need to be the first people to offer them. Hulu, boom, let's do it right now.
I
Saudi,
guess what does it even matter, right? Like, you can
LIV
throw your shit
league.
up. Yeah.
Come on, be on Hulu. That maybe this will get somebody who, and especially it's like if guys like Mickelson, if they really force them to choose, and that's what the thing I was listening to this morning on the radio, they were saying like they don't think it's like right now it doesn't seem like their goal is to like necessarily make money because they've got so much money. It seems like they're just I don't know, just trying to take over. Just like force the PGA to like I don't know, like yeah, just force people to listen, just disrupt. Be whatever Amazon was. Like I don't even remember what existed before Amazon. I feel like wasn't there somebody? I guess it was kind of like Walmart, right? Like I feel like Walmart was the big, even though Walmart didn't really go anywhere, but I feel like Amazon definitely like took Amazon's lunch money. Like Walmart was the thing that was looking like it was going to take over the world, right? It was big, it was bulk, it was cheap, it was everywhere. And then Amazon just comes out of nowhere. It's like, nope, give me that bitch. Like, I'm going to be the biggest thing in the world. And then they just became the biggest thing in the world, Amazon, out of nowhere. So, and now Tesla. At one point in time, I'm sure the people who were at Ford, they were like, we're going to run the automobile business for eternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're freaking Henry Ford. You invent the fucking car. Like, you're like, we got this thing in the bag. Playing with house money here, baby. And we're building the most cars in America. Then came globalization and exportation.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble was the primary competitor to Amazon.
I do think
I
though.
don't know what to think.
I do think though that something is going to come along and disrupt the NFL. I think it's just bound to happen because I think the NFL, it just seems like they're getting so comfortable with. They're getting too greedy, and they want so much, and when you want to reach all these demographics, you have to keep on sort of watering your product down to reach everybody. And like you said, you get sick of all these. Every month there's a new initiative and a new jersey and a new this thing
I
to
know,
buy.
it's terrible.
And then the freaking all the we can't figure out how to just get the referees and we see so many issues that you guys aren't even addressing.
Pandering to every group
And
tough.
and then like honestly, a lot of the rules, like I mean, yeah, people like excitement, but I feel like most hardcore fans, we like to see points and scores, but we all have a affinity, like a love and a respect for defense.
I agree.
So it's like, and we all sucking our teeth and rolling our eyes whenever, it's like watching people flop in NBA. It's like when you see a quarterback barely get touched on his fucking shoulder pad, and just because he goes like this, and they're like throwing a flag 15 yards, or like I remember that one year Clay Matthews had like 3 sacks, like 2 of them like ended the game, and another one was just like a big play, and they all got called back. It's like that sucks the air out of you as a fan, and it makes you hate to watch the game sometimes. So if the NFL keeps doing that, somebody might be able to come in here and be like, look, man, watch our product. We'll listen to you. We'll listen to you a little bit. We're not going to protect the quarterback so much. Like, I think that's what it's got to be. It's going to have to be you kind of reinstituting some of the violence. I mean, as some people might cringe at hearing that, but I grew up watching ESPN. You got jacked up when they was highlighting the biggest hits every single week.
Yep, you're right.
That's the era I grew up in. And then they would just have the money. It would have to be to the point where, like, when players want more money, if somebody can be like, we can start a league and we can play our quarterback, $200 million a year or some crazy shit for 3 years, $600 million contract, then yeah, I think it's possible. It's really possible. We're gonna move on to, and I kind of already touched on are you an Adams fan? So let's kick it back to the division, man. Let's kick it back to the division. The NFC. Lots of different. Well, not. I don't say lots of different. I think there has been some considerable changes in the NFC North. We have new coaches. We have new general managers. The Lions people did a lot of drafting. They got a lot of high ranked players. The NFC and just in general, I feel like it's shifted a little bit. Russell's gone. Brady's back. I guess you could say Carson Wentz can. I don't really know if Carson Wentz is really a mover and a shaker anymore. But I just feel
it's an interesting move.
It's an interesting move for the Commanders. I think it could pay off. But I guess I feel like there was, like, in the early 2000s, it seemed like the NFC was trending. Like, it was NFC. I feel like most of the NFC, with the exception of Tom Brady, most of the Super Bowl champions, I feel like, were coming out the NFC. A lot of the best players seem to be out of the NFC. But now it seems like there's kind of a shift back to the AFC. But I'm just thinking, like, what are you thinking about the NFC this year and the division? Do you think it's going to be similar to how it was last year? Packers at the top, Vikings, Bears, Lions. Do you think we'll see, like, new teams enter into the playoff picture? Or do you think we'll see much of the same?
I think it's going to be kind of one and the same for the NFC. AFC... we kind of talked about it. I don't envision a scenario where anyone breaks into the top 4 teams in the league. Meaning, I think it's going to come down to LA, Green Bay, Buffalo, and KC. I just don't see who's going to sneak in outside of that this year. And maybe you get like a fringe team to come in. I think the Vikings, maybe they could make the playoffs and then probably get bounced out in the wild card round.
Last year we had, that's what we had, right? No, last year we had LA. Who did LA play in the NFC?
San Francisco,
Cincinnati, and Kansas City. Now, Kansas City, yes. LA, you could say maybe yes, but Cincinnati and San Francisco, I feel like those are kind of like surprises. And I feel like every year we know that we're gonna have some new teams into the mix. And there was another list. I love the list. I'm a list lover. There was another list that was talking about, like, offensive lines, and I think Green Bay had a top 5 offensive line, but the number one was the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles had the number 1 offensive line. They were the number 1 rushing team last year in the NFL.
Interesting.
Well, they were the number 1 rushing team last year. Number one in the NFL in rushing last year. The Eagles had one of the best drafts in the NFL. They had a lot of talent on both sides. And I was thinking like maybe the Eagles. I think that division, I think the NFC East, and I think our division is going to have a surprise. I think those are the two divisions that are going to have a surprise. I like LA right now. I think right now, even though I'm a Packers fan, I think LA has got to be the favorite right now. In my opinion, they added Allen Robinson, and they added, oh, by the way, future Hall of Famer from Seattle.
Bobby
Wagner.
Yep.
They added Wagner. Put Wagner behind Antonio. But put Wagner behind Aaron Donald's big ass.
They're probably not going to have OBJ back.
I don't honestly. I mean, I like OBJ. I think he was great for them last year. But I feel like Allen Robinson. He's younger. He's more healthy. He's tougher. I think he's at this point in his career. Sure, first 3 years, 5 years even. Give me OBJ. But at this point, give me Allen Robinson. No, hands down.
Damn, and don't they have Robert? Did Robert Woods sign with Tennessee though? Didn't he?
Yeah,
He's
Robert Woods left. Robert Woods left. But I mean,
thank God. Can you imagine Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods?
But I'm saying, even still, that's scary. That's scary.
Right
right now, that's to me maybe the best duo in the NFL right now. Those two.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah, probably right. I mean, and then who else do they have? Van Jefferson, he's still in there?
I think so. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, they got the running backs too. They have some good running backs. I mean, I'm not really sure who they have at tight end.
Higbee.
For sure. Oh, Higbee. Yes, Higbee is a good tight end.
He's a player.
He's a good tight end.
Player.
Man, I think the Rams, man, they got better. They won the Super Bowl and got better. The Packers, we got better. But we did lose Devontae. We got better on defense. I think they have a chance to have the best defense, but I think they're number 2 right now. But, I mean, you make a good point. L.A., Green Bay, I wouldn't be surprised. I know people are kind of a little – I think Tampa Bay stock is down a little bit. But I never will bet against Tom Brady ever again.
I agree. I think they're done, though. I just don't see that happening. The Eagles right now, their whole roster – but sub in Michael Vick in the prime years for Jalen Hurts.
I mean, I still think Michael Vick is,
he might be the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah, honestly, I think like when a lot of people say like, oh, Rodgers is the most talented guy I've ever seen.
No,
I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, honestly, like that's disrespectful to a lot of guys. I know some guys who might not have the hardware or the accolades that Aaron Rodgers has, but I mean, even back in the, like I said, like we never really watched. A lot of people that say stuff like that didn't really watch a Dan Marino play, or they didn't even watch, like I said, even a guy like Randall Cunningham. I mean, I've just seen highlights of Randall Cunningham, but it's like he's doing shit Rodgers could never dream of doing.
I know. I was thinking about that today.
And got the arm strength.
I was thinking about all those guys who talk about Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. They get all pissed off if you say Brady's the GOAT because Aaron Rodgers is the most talented. But then I'm like, well, if we're going to use that argument about a guy who's only won one ring, then shouldn't we be talking about a guy like Vic who transformed the whole game?
Game.
He was a video game. He was a video game player.
Yeah,
that's it. And unstoppable.
And he was way ahead of his time. Nobody was running read option. Nobody was running read option. Nobody was really incorporating run schemes. I mean, they would call some draw plays and some bootleg. But it's like the way they run the ball now with what Lamar Jackson did. What Lamar Jackson did his MVP year, if you would have put Michael Vick in that scheme, he may have probably had 2,000 yards rushing, honestly.
Yeah, the difference there is Michael Vick could throw a ball. He had a laser. I mean,
he definitely, and that's what I'm saying. I think the strongest arm I've ever. I feel like there's been time when I've seen Michael Vick just flick his wrists, not even move his arm, and it goes like 60 yards down the field. I'm just like, dude, like, how can anyone say that the Rodgers has the strongest arm or the most? Like, come on, bro.
He was he was an athlete, and it's too bad. I
A
wish he could have
freak.
won a ring in Atlanta, but I think that whole thing was really dismantled with the
Yeah, with the
dogfighting
dog
ring,
fighting,
right?
but I honestly don't think I don't think he was locked in, and that really kind of goes back to what we were talking about with this Packers team, and players not being there, and guys not signing their tenders fast, and guys streaming on Twitch when they should be practicing or their playbook or on the jug. I mean, MVS, you had however many drops, dude. Like, honestly, when you better, if you're gonna be on stream, I want to see you on stream fucking hitting the jugs machine. That's what I want to see you streaming, catching the jugs for 3 straight hours and answering questions from fans. That would have been a stream I would have loved to see.
Yep, for sure. It's really sad, when you look at Michael Vick's career.
Yeah, dude.
He went to prison when he was 26 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
And essentially missed 3 years because he really never played the first year in Philly,
Yep.
and not till 2010 when he came back and was an All-Pro. I mean, think about that. He comes back, hasn't really played in 3 years, and he comes back and he is
All-Pro.
number 2 in All-Pro voting.
Honestly, he
4
almost
years later.
beat the Packers, man. He almost beat the Packers in that playoff
I
game.
know. You think of a guy who's 27, 28, 29, on the trajectory that he was with the Atlanta Falcons, who I think in 2006 lost in the NFC Championship game at Philly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with Vic. Yeah, that was the same year. That was not the same year he beat us in the. But yeah, no, they did get to a NFC Championship. He had a couple good years, but I think and quick shout out to my man Fun_Red says, not gonna lie, I don't care about football, just want to support you. Appreciate that, Fun_Red. Yeah, man, Michael Vick. I agree with you, man. He was probably the biggest what if, the most talented player I've ever seen, and but he wasn't locked in. He'll tell you he wasn't even like studying the playbook when he was in Atlanta his first couple years.
He was so talented that he could just go out there
and just
and ball
play,
out.
just run around, throw bombs, and I mean, he didn't have the best accuracy, but I feel like that's something that was mechanics based. Like for Aaron Rodgers, for as accurate that he was early in his career, I feel like once he started really doing all of this bad mechanics, his accuracy has gone down. It plummeted before really like the last 2 years where it's kind of gotten back up to 68, 67. But like in 2018, it was like 64%, 60. Like I was like, that's bad, man. That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to just wrap up this NFC discussion. So you feel like it's not gonna be much change. You see like there's gonna be a lot of change, and I feel like it makes sense for LA to be back in Green Bay, but and you know what? I kind of agree with you, especially on this side. I don't see. Well, I think we're gonna have maybe 1 or 2 new entries into the playoffs. Maybe somebody surprises in the first round, but I do think it will kind of come down to LA and Green Bay, or a San Francisco Green Bay, or some kind of combination of that. But the AFC, I think the AFC could actually get shaken up a little bit. There's been a lot of movement in the AFC. I
think it's Buffalo and KC. I think the only difference this year is Buffalo hosts that game, and I think they go to the Super Bowl.
I mean, dude, Buffalo's a strong choice, but I mean, KC is good. That's a strong choice as well. But I mean, I do think like Baltimore. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with Lamar Jackson. He hasn't signed a contract yet. He's like him and his mom. His mom is his agent. I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
That's goofy.
Yeah, I'm kind of all for people doing stuff like that, but it's like, dude, when you're Lamar Jackson, bro, like you should be paid.
I know.
They've even said we want to pay him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like you're young, you've got the highest risk of anybody in the league. Your style of play. If anybody needs insurances on guarantees, is you. You need it more than anyone in the league. So it's like, I don't know what he's doing, but they were so injured last year. I really feel like people are just kind of forgetting about the Ravens. They're getting a lot of guys back from injury, a ton of guys back. Plus, they got that kid who probably is one of the favorites for defensive rookie of the year, the safety out of Notre Dame.
I just don't see, whenever it really comes down to the playoffs, it just hasn't translated for me with Lamar.
I mean, he finally won one last year or the year before that. He finally did win one against Tennessee.
Yeah,
against Tennessee, he
won
one.
Win. They were a heavy underdog, but
they were.
You just gotta, you gotta show me a little bit more.
You gotta see a little more. Okay, look, fair enough. Fair enough. I guess I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to make it interesting. I'm just trying before we just say it's gonna be chalk and put all the number one seeds in there. I'm just like, let's try to make it interesting. Does anyone else have a case? And I guess you're saying no. It's Buffalo's conference to lose.
Basically. I really do believe that. Really do believe
no one can. No, Denver can't come out of nowhere.
I mean, we'll see if New England can progress. Maybe New England.
I'm not ready to get on. I'm not ready to just put Mac Jones, plug him in, and be like, okay, he's good enough to. I mean, there was just such a high standard, right? The Tom Brady thing is like, you knew every year they're going to be in the playoffs and be probably in the AFC Championship game. So it's like, I don't know, man. I think he's got big. I mean, he's got the biggest shoes to fill in the history of the NFL. So
I guess in the AFC, if it's going to be anyone, it's probably going to come out of the AFC West.
The West for sure, and that's what I'm thinking.
Between Joshy McDaniels and the Devontae Derek show over there,
Love Fest, or Russell,
or the Chargers,
bringing some legitimacy to the Broncos, trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice, what they did with Peyton. And like you said, I mean, a lot of people are really high on Kansas, on the Chiefs. I mean, on the Chargers, and rightfully so. I do think that kid. They say he's got the most passing yards through the first 2 seasons of any quarterback. So I mean, he's. I mean, that's a dude right there. I mean, I know he's only done it 2 years, but honestly, if you talk about the way that Josh Herbert was thrust into his starting role, literally minutes before the game, his rookie season, he finds out the veteran quarterback has some kind of puncture in his lung. Okay, kid, there you go, into the fire, starting your first game against Kansas City. Oh, by the way, and that team is kind of stacked. So I mean, maybe his third year, this is the year where he, it kind of just all clicks in the defense. I mean, they just went out and got Khalil Mack, and they're getting some injuries back on defense. So I mean, maybe maybe the Chargers, can. Yeah, Bosa's coming back, so maybe the Chargers can challenge. I mean, we're all giving it to KC, but it's like, I bet you maybe KC fans are thinking how maybe Packers, me and you are thinking with the Packers, like, man, I don't even want the Packers to win the goddamn division. I want them to go on the road and have to fucking fight and claw and feel like underdogs and be mad and pissed off. Yeah, maybe that's what Kansas City thinks. Maybe that's what's best for Kansas City. So maybe the Chargers or the Vegas or the Broncos take that division.
Maybe.
It's a tough division, man, and especially when your teams get better in the division, those games that are already crazy games, they become even crazier.
You're right.
So, all right, man. Yeah, I just try to keep it interesting, but you're making the good case that it's just probably gonna be since Buffalo and Kansas City. Even though I've been down on Kansas City every single freaking year since they won the first Super Bowl, that I feel like Mahomes is gonna kind of he's gonna become too much of Aaron Rodgers. Like, all these young guys are like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, he's the standard. If I was my fucking quarterback coach and my young player said Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, no, are you crazy? Thomas, Edward, Patrick, Brady. That's the fucking standard. That's who you need to be looking at. Don't look at anyone else's film. That's what I want you looking at. Don't look at Aaron Rodgers. Those bad habits and that losing mentality and coming up short in the playoffs. Why would I want my young rising star to be looking at that?
I agree.
As soon as Burrow said he wanted to be like Aaron Rodgers, what did he do? Lost in the fucking AFC Championship game.
You're right.
Let's wrap it up, man. Do you have enough time for one more segment? best and worst places you visited as a fan, or you want to say that for next week?
Yeah, I'll save that for next week.
All right, next week it is.
I gotta give this one a little bit of thought.
Okay.
But
because you've been some places
we can get into next week too.
All right, look, man, that's another one. Episode 27 in the books. It was good having you. Yeah, I'm banned now I'm banned on Twitter. It says come back with I you know what they said that I am permanently suspended right now. I did do an appeal, so I guess I have to kind of wait for the appeal process. But it said that I can't make a new one. I didn't even try. It said that I can't make a new one, so I don't know, man. Maybe it's the best thing for me. Maybe it's just good. I can just be on Instagram and just detox from all that negativity of Twitter. But you
could just ghost tweet through somebody else.
Yeah, ghost tweet. Maybe maybe I can ghost tweet, or I'm sure there's some way I can probably get a burner account. There's probably some way I could probably get one. But hey, it's probably better for me. Okay. But you are at the GB House on Twitter. You finally jumped in the fray, but you're staying out of the trenches. I needed to. I took that advice. That's good advice. I'm out of the trenches. But until the next show, I am Godchild. That is Tom from the Green Bay House. This is the West Packin Sports Show. Go Pack, go, and remember, the Bears still and forever suck.
Will always suck.
Peace.